Very good morning to the students. Today we will enter a new area of business statistics, that is sampling. Before we enter the sampling topic, we must understand the very basic terminologies of the sampling. We must understand what is in population is. We must understand what do we mean by the term population frame. We must understand what is a sample. We must also understand the different types of sampling techniques. In the next few minutes of my lecture, we will focus mainly on the sampling techniques. But before that, we should have to throw some light on the areas like the population and the very basic definition of sample. Sample and population, all these are actually being used for the purpose of the research. Those who are actually doing it using the primary data. The primary data is a data which you are actually collecting for the first time for the purpose of your research to reach any of the conclusions. While you are reaching the conclusions, actually we are trying to infer something from the data that we have collected, and say something and infer something regarding a bigger data set which you are calling it as population. Let us start from the very scratch. Population is something that is the bigger set of data, entities or objects from which or on which we are going to conclude something, that we are calling it as a bigger set. But it is not possible for a researcher to collect all the population data, because this is becoming very much costly affair, time consuming, and sometimes it is not possible for a researcher to collect the data of all the participants, all the materials, all the intended objects in that population. So you are going to select some of the materials, select some of the objects, select some of the participants from that, which will represent the whole population. That is, we are calling it as a sample. The sample is the subset of the population from where we are going to use our statistical techniques to infer something on the population. So sample is a smaller set and population is the bigger set. So we can call it as a sample is a subset of the population. Now if we go that the different types of techniques how you are going to adopt while you are going for collecting the samples, then broadly statisticians have categorized the collection methods into two areas. Number one area that they have categorized is the probabilistic sampling methods, and the second one they have categorized is non-probabilistic sampling methods. So then, as the name indicates, the first one is talking about some probability. That means the concept of probability is being included in the sampling techniques. And in the second one, the concept of probability is not being included. So if you are going by the probabilistic sampling techniques, there are 4 types of probabilistic sampling techniques. Number 1 is the simple random sampling. Number 2 is the systematic random sampling. Number 3 is the stratified random sampling. Number 4 is the cluster random sampling. So let us come one by one. So all these, there is a common term that I have already used. I have already used, and that common term is, we call it random. What is random? Whenever we talk about randomness means everybody has the equal chance of getting selected. That is, you are calling it as an randomness. No biasness is there. Everybody has the equal chance of getting selected. So let us come by one. Simple random sampling. Simple random sampling means, suppose there is 60 students in the classes. I have to choose any 2 of the students. So what I can do, I can keep my eyes closed and then I enter the class. Among the 60 students, whomsoever I am going to touch first, they will become my samples. So that is the concept of simple random sampling. It's very simple in nature. It is random because everybody in the class of 60 is having the equal chances of getting selected. They have the equal chance of getting selected. So that is, we are calling it as a simple random sampling. Then you will come up with the second one, that is the systematic random sampling. Here we follow a system. The system will be defined by the researcher itself or the person who is going to collect the sample. The researcher or by the person who is going to collect the sample. Let me give one very specific example. Let us they are in a classroom. There are 50 students are there. In the 50 students, every student is having their own numbers. Student number 1, student number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, number 10, and then go on. It will continue up to 60. And they are lining up chronologically. That means 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, 5. In this way, they have lined up chronologically. So, how we can go for a systematic random sampling? We will select the first one, then we can give a gap of 10. So then you are going to select the 11th one. Again you will give a gap of 10. Then you will select the 21st one. Then again you will give a gap of 10. You will select the 31st one. Again I will give a gap of 10. You will select the 41st one. This is all the student number 1st, student number 11th, student number 21st, student number 31st, student number 41st, student number 51st, and then so on. Here, as the number of students is 60, so we cannot select any students who is having a number of 61. So this is, we are calling it as an systematic random sampling. Then you will come up with the stratified random sampling. Stratified random sampling means whenever you are actually dividing the population into different stratas. Stratas are the subset of the population. If I talk it from a statistical point of view, then every strata is actually heterogeneous within themselves, but homogeneous among themselves. They are heterogeneous within themselves, but homogeneous among themselves. So whenever they are within a strata, they are all heterogeneous. The heterogeneity might be because of the age, the heterogeneity because of might be they are of gender, the heterogeneity because of might be their food habits, the heterogeneity might be because of their education level, heterogeneity might be because of their income level, whatever that can be. They are heterogeneous in nature, in strata, but they are homogeneous in nature among themselves. Obviously, this homogeneity and heterogeneity depends on a very specific property, because heterogeneity and homogeneity depends on any predefined property, one or two. So let us have an example of that. Suppose a media house wants to collect some information and they are going for sampling. They can divide the whole area into different types of stratas. So how they can divide the stratas? They can divide the stratas in such a way that every strata will have different type of heterogeneous characteristics in a single strata, as per income group, as per age group, as per the gender, as per the education level, and any other different way. Then you will come up with the cluster random sampling. Normally the cluster random sampling is being used whenever if we are dividing any geographical areas into different subdivisions, then the cluster random sampling is being used. Suppose an NGO, they want to find out the effectiveness of a program into one very specific location. Might be that program is on the girl education. So the effectiveness of the programs on the girls' education, they want to find it out. So they can geographically create 4 different clusters, and they can find out, they can find out the samples from the 4 different clusters, and after analyzing, they can infer something. They can infer regarding the effectiveness of their program that they have implemented from their end. So these all 4 are different types of probabilistic random sampling. Then you will come up with a different area, that is the non-probabilistic random sampling. Non-probabilistic sampling techniques. Non-probabilistic sampling techniques. The non-probabilistic sampling techniques are, here the concept of probability doesn't have any role to play. What we are going to do over here we try to neglect or negate the concept of probability. There are 4 types. One is convenient sampling. Second one is judgmental sampling. Some people are also saying it as a purposive sampling. third one is quota sampling, and fourth one is snowball sampling. These four are very popular in nature. So let us discuss it one by one. Number one, that is, you are calling it as a convenient sampling. So the researcher is going to collect the sample or choose the sample as per their own convenience. It can be as per his convenience, the locality, convenience of his or her own time, convenience of the respondents. So I want to collect some samples regarding, let us say, the use of one medicine on human body. So I am not going to divide it into strata or cluster. I can ask as per my convenience who are using it standing in front of a pharmacy shop. Then I can ask him, say, good or bad, effectiveness, how much effective it is. This is the second one. Second one is, that is, we are calling it as an judgmental sampling. So here we are using our own judgment on this type of sampling. Suppose somebody wants to do a sample, wants to find a sample or draw a sample, those who are using the top end Gucci bags. So obviously the researcher will have a predefined judgment that only the luxurious, this is one type of luxurious bag, so only the rich and affluent people will use this luxurious bag. So I have decided, I have my own judgment, and I will try to find out the sample from that rich and affluent people only. This is, we are calling it as a judgmental sampling. Third one is quota sampling. So sometimes we will find that a population itself is having some portions, predefined portions are there. Let's have, in a population, male-female ratio is 40:60. So female is 60, male is 40. So if I take a sample of 10 from that population, so I will take 4 as my male and 6 as my female. I will maintain the same quota that has been maintained in the population. So this is, we are calling it as a quota sampling. And the last one is the snowball sampling. It's a marketing strategy. Many of us know it. In this strategy, we actually call it in this way, that first we select 2 or 3 people as per our convenience or as per our own intimations, and then I collect the data from them, and then the researcher is going to tell that you refer somebody, every participant, you refer 2 or 3. They are referring 2 or 3. Then again I am going to collect the informations or the responses from them. And then again I am going to ask the second set of people to refer the third set of people. And this way, this will continue. This is, we are calling it as an snowball sampling. So more or less in the social sciences, we are using this type of sampling techniques. But before I end up today's session, I should say that the sampling techniques is a part of inferral statistics. Statistics can be categorized into 2 broad areas. One is the descriptive statistics, and second one is the inferral statistics. So if and only if The researcher is using the inference statistics like hypothesis testing. Then they are going to use the sampling. And to select the sample, sampling techniques plays a very vital role for the choosing the best appropriate representative of the population through a sample. Thank you very much. Thank you.